6, and we're going to talk about the story of Jacob. What do y'all know about Jacob? Remember Esau and Jacob? Tell me a little bit about him. Somebody, what do you know?
Cheater.
A twin. Who was born first? Esau. And when they were born, what do we know about the two of them?
I think Jacob had a hold of his heel.
Hold of his heel, right. And you know what the word comes from that? Anyone? He was called the what?
Cheater.
The supplanter. Very good, Heather. Well, she's a preacher's daughter, so. Huh? Well, yeah, he's called a cheater too because he's grabbing the heel and he's going to take his place by cheating, right? Now, in all this, is this by chance, his own conniving, or did God had a plan in all this? Obviously, he had a plan. And so when we look at it, we know that this family that he's born into is just ripe with all sorts of problems. And Jacob was not always a good guy, right? And so what was his favorite trade compared to Esau? Esau was a what? A hunter. And then Jacob was more of a gardener, just like right. A mama's boy. The mom loved him, and then, of course, Isaac loved Esau more, right? And so we have this rivalry going on. And remember the time Esau comes in and he's famished. He'd been hunting all day, and he saw they had some porridge that Jacob had made and said, give me some porridge. And his brother had the audacity, rather than feed him porridge, says, sell me your birthright first. I mean, where's the care and love for that? He's always seeking a blessing. He's always trying to get ahead, isn't he? And so what did Esau say? Do you remember? What's a birthright if I'm dead? So sure, I'll sell it to you. Well, that set the stage, right? And so we look at it, we have all sorts of problems going on, and we get all these weird names that are being used in the book of Genesis. And one of them is El-Elohe-Israel. But we have the word Bethel, I want to show you that, Peniel, and the word Israel. What is that? Jacob's name was changed to Israel, and we're going to explain why is that. Because there's discussion of etymology and etymology, and you got to learn to enunciate it correctly, which I can't do. The first one is the investigation or attribution of the cause or reason for something expressed. Like, where do these words come from? Isn't that interesting? Have you ever searched for that, like a phrase? Like, where did we get that? And then etymology is the origin of words and how their meanings have changed over the years. And so when we look at these things, there's a dictionary of difficult words. I ought to memorize that. So when we're looking at this name here, it's very significant, and it stands out, and it's easy to just pass over it. But it's really about the life of Jacob, a man who wrestled with God. Remember that? And he contended with God and won. And so what's that all about? Just a curious story, or is there more going on than we realize? And so he's called Jacob the supplanter because he grabbed the heel, remember? And it's from the word which means to supplant or to... So you were right. He was a deceiver. You're grabbing hold of something that's not really yours. You don't have a right to. But this happened at birth, and that's why I say it's not by coincidence. This is God's design that he had, and he's really in charge of all things. So Esau said later in chapter 27, after this all takes place, the story, is he not rightly named Jacob? For he has cheated me these 2 times. That's after Jacob stole his birthright. And so we know how that happened, that his dad is really sick and he's going blind, and he calls in his son Esau. He tells his wife, go get Esau, tell him to make me my favorite venison meal, and I'm going to bless him with the birthright. And the birthright means you're the heir of the house, right? You're in charge. And so what does mom do? She goes and gets Jacob and said, your dad's going to bless Esau. You go kill an animal and get some meat, and I'll pick it, and then you put on his clothes. And he says, well, he'll feel that my hands are my hands are smooth, and so put on some hairy things, and so you'll smell like him and you feel like him, and then you can bring your porridge in there or the meal and give it to him. And of course, when that happens, Isaac said, boy, you did that quick, right? He said, here I am, Father. And he says, you don't sound like, Esau. So did Jacob take a part in this deception?
Yes. Yes.
So both his mother and him, they're being really evil. They're lying to her husband and his father, the patriarch. Yes.
I'm sorry, maybe you're not taking this route later, but I think the whole family are going against God as well.
Oh, yeah.
They're trying to, in some way, they help God because when Jacob's mom was pregnant, she went to inquire of the Lord, and God said a prophecy about Jacob being a great nation.
Yeah.
And leading his brother and be above his brother. So if God is saying something, Isaac is not taking that in consideration and giving the blessing to
Right.
the one God.
The wrong one, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, because he didn't understand that probably either. You're right. But I'm glad he mentioned that because God is ordaining all this. It's his planet.
And I think that's why Esau later, he sold his birthright.
Right.
Because, God gave you a blessing to you, so what is the point of hiding it?
Right. And I thought I was curious, just because you sell your birthright as a young kid, is that binding? It's like your fingers behind your back crossed, like Hudson was doing, but it turned out it was binding, wasn't it? And because his mother is, colluding with him to steal this birthright, lying, and he said, Esau, is this you? And what did Jacob say? Yes, he's lying, right? Yes, Esther.
I want to make you understand that the first family were dysfunctional.
Well, that's right. Well, Esau killed Jacob. Cain killed Abel. Yeah, you're right. Yeah,
Remember that.
that's right. So, real life scenarios are better drama than anything on TV because this really happened, and we could repeat the story many times.
Yeah, it's interesting too. I was looking at our study this morning in the kids' class, and David was chosen, and you don't hear anything about the rest of the brothers the rest of their life.
Yeah, that's true.
Here's two sons, and Esau, he's chasing Canaanite women.
Yeah,
And Rebecca even said something about that.
Yeah.
And they're both raised by the same parents.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Jacob, he definitely was a dysfunctional family.
It was ripe for problems at the beginning, and that's what we're just setting up. But Israel, Jacob, we're going to call him interchangeably. His name will be changed to Israel because he is the man who contended or fought with God. And we're going to follow his account. He has to run for his life because the father blesses him, and it's irrevocable when he blesses him. Then Esau comes in later, goes, where's my blessing? Sorry, I gave it away. And so what's Esau going to do?
Revenge.
Yeah, how so?
He's going to kill him.
He's going to kill him. Then he would have the birthright, right? You can't write a movie script better than this. So we're going to follow the account of Jacob as he runs for his life because his mom hears about this, and she actually conspires with her husband again. Like, we don't want Jacob marrying a local lady. Send him back home to where our relatives are in Haran so she can get someone from that clan. And so he agrees, Isaac does, and sends him off. That's all just to get a wife? No, to save his life, right? So we're going to follow the account of this man, and really, I would suggest this man's just like all of us, we're seeking a blessing. We want something better this life offers. We want something from God, and he's willing to do most anything to achieve it, anything. And it all ends up terribly wrong initially, and he has to run for his life. And he's lonely now, and he's lost spiritually, isn't he? Would you agree? He's lost spiritually, lost his way. But Jacob ends up on this trip finding God, or else that's why I say I think actually God found him, right? And so he found him, and Jacob is finally going to receive his blessing. And in that, we're going to see this word called El-Elohe-Israel. So we're going to look at the name Bethel, Jacob, Israel, Penuel, and also some other words I can't even pronounce. Like, but Mizpah is a watchtower. But it's all about the story of him going to find a wife, and that's what he's doing. And so he leaves to find the wife, he finds the wife, and then he returns with the wife. But who's waiting for him? Esau to kill him. All right? But we're just going to look at this journey as it goes through quickly. And so we're going to look, first of all, now in chapter 27. That's his deception. And then he's going to have to run for his life, right? And that's in chapter 28. He is actually sent away. And that's where he's going to go all the way up to Haran in that area. All right? So this family, after deceiving his father and mother in trying to secure a blessing, in chapter 27, what is in verse 36, it says, again, your brother came deceitfully, has taken away your blessing. That's when Esau said, is he not rightly named Jacob? Because that means what? Supplanter, deceiver. So everyone knew that he lived up to his name. And that's interesting. They called it. And even Jacob knew that himself. So he deceived his father and he deceived his brother. And again, he's looking, again, as I would suggest, for a blessing from God. So when we look at this, after Jacob blessed him, he flees for his life. And that's where we see in chapter 28, Isaac called Jacob, blessed him, then charged him. But you shall not take a wife from the daughters of Canaan, but go to Paddan Aram, the house of Bethuel, your mother's father, and there take yourself a wife from the daughters of Laban, your mother's brother. And he blesses him again. May God Almighty bless you and make you fruitful and multiply, that you may become a company of peoples. And he may also give you the blessing of Abraham. Which blessing is that? The covenant in chapter 12 of Genesis. Abraham, get up and go to this country I'm going to show you, Canaan. I'm going to make you a great nation. I'm going to make your name great so everyone will revere you. People still talk about Abraham. All the Islam people say, our great father, Abraham. Yeah, so well as the Jews, Abraham. And then through your seed, Abraham's going to be a blessing to the whole world. Because through his seed, we know is going to be born Jesus Christ. Now, here's what's beautiful about this. Jacob is a picture and a preview of Jesus himself in many ways. Okay? And so he said, may the blessing of Abraham come to you, your descendants with you, you might possess the land. So Isaac sent, verse 5, Jacob away. He came to the land of his ancestors Laban. And when Esau saw that Isaac had blessed Jacob and sent him away, verse 6, he says, you shall not take a wife from the daughters of Canaan, that Jacob had obeyed his father and his mother had gone to Paddan Aram. So Esau saw the daughters of Canaan, as you mentioned, and he marries them. So on his way in verse 10, Jacob departs from Beersheba and went there toward Haran. He came to a certain place and spent the night there. And because the sun had set, he took one of the stones of the place and put it under his head and lay down in the place. And he had a dream. This is a wonderful, famous story we know. And on the dream, behold, a ladder was set on earth with its top reaching to the heaven. And behold, angels of God were going up and down on this ladder that reaches into heaven. And behold, Yahweh, or Lord, Jehovah, stood above it and said, I am... and that's all capitals, L-O-R-D, Yahweh, that's his name, the God of your father Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the land on which you lie, I'm going to give to you and your descendants. That's the promise of the land promise that God gave Abraham. Verse 14, your descendants will be like the dust of the earth. In this case, that's the same nation promise. And you'll spread out to the west, the east. And the end of verse 14, in you, what does it say? Your descendants, all families, everyone who's not a Jew, everyone's going to be blessed. And that's a picture of what Christ is going to do, isn't it? So Jacob woke up from his sleep and said, surely Jehovah was in this place, and I did not know it. And he was afraid and said, how awesome is this place? This is none other than the house of God. Why would he call it the house of God? Because he just said what? God was in this place, and I didn't know it before I even got there. He was in this place, and he slept in he's calling it spiritually the house of God. Bob.
Isn't that the word we have the Abraham Accord now?
What?
The Middle East.
The Abraham Accords.
Oh yeah, Abraham's a common word, and a lot of Muslims are named Abraham. But yes, Abraham Accord, a peace kind of treaty.
They're working towards building up this peace between the nations.
Yeah, but it has nothing to do with what's going on in Scripture. That's a political thing, has nothing to do. They just borrowed the name. That's all. Right. So he said, verse 17, this is none other the house of God, and this is the gate of heaven. This is how you get to heaven. So Jacob rose early in the morning and took the stone. What stone? That he was laid. It was pillow. I mean, if you have to sleep on a rock for a pillow, you know life's pretty tough right now, right?
Get the right rock.
He took the stone, put it under his head, and set it up as a pillar and poured oil on the top. And he called the name of that place what? Bethel. And so we look at this. He still, we'll catch up with our slides here. When we get to here, he's going to go about, I think it's 500 miles all the way up to Haran. And that's, of course, where Abraham came for originally. But he's at Luz. The place is called Luz, but he changes it to Bethel. And that's where he is, right there. He calls the place Bethel. Does anyone know what the word Bethel means? Jeff. El is what? God, and Bay is house. And so that's what we're going to see here when he has this dream and God makes a promise, the great land, the great family, the great blessing, right? And then he calls the place Bethel. And the word Bethel, I thought I had it on there, means house of God. Now, when we see that he makes the stone, that's like a witness stone or a pillar, and he anoints it with oil, and that's his way to commemorate this place and mark it, so when he comes back, he knows exactly where it is. But it's in honor to God. And so that's where the tabernacle got set up later. What was the tabernacle? The house of God. It's where God dwelt in that tabernacle that he told Israel to make many, many, many years later. It ends up at this very place. It comes very significant, and here are the roots from it, right here, Bethel. And that's a song people sing. But in verse 15, I hope I'm in the right chapter or place here. Verse 15, look at the fourfold promise. Behold, he says, who's speaking here? First of all, what? I am with you. Second, I will keep you wherever you go. And I will what? Bring you back. And the fourth, I will. Isn't that beautiful?
Covers every aspect of his
Everything we need. He says, his presence is with him. His protection is with him. His preservation. I'm going to keep you and his faithful. I'll never leave you. I'm with you. I'll protect you, I'll keep you, and I'll never leave you. Does this young man who's all messed up find his blessing? Yeah. And it comes from the God that he really wasn't searching for, but God basically found him. Isn't that a lot of our lives? We know there's an emptiness and a hole, and it just things aren't right, and we're searching and frantic, and we're trying to do things our way, and then it's as though something happens in their life, something traumatic, and this was traumatic. He's running for his life because he lied. What a messed up family. And that's when you get broken, and that's the time that people are most vulnerable to God. Is that a good way to say it? You're most vulnerable to God or open to God. And then God appears to him. This is what Jesus says, come unto me, all of you labor and heavy laden, because I will give you, I'll never fail you or forsake you. He finds his blessing on this road to find a wife sleeping on a rock. Yes.
The part where he says, too, I'll bring you back. When you look at Jacob's life and some of the things he went through, he needed to be brought back. He needed to be humbled.
All of us, yes. Good. Good point.
God brought him back, and he will always be there for you. He'll act in your best interest even when you don't.
Very well said. All right. So he calls it the house of God. We read that. And he makes this standing pillar, and that's where the word is. Bethel means Bayeth, a house, and El is God. That's where we get the word Bethel. That's why we're doing these word studies. Yes.
It's interesting because during the period of the divided kingdom in Dan and Bethel, they're going to set up idolatrous worship.
Yeah.
One's in Bethel.
In one of these places. That's right. So there's a lot of history there, isn't it? Good and bad, all right? And so when we look at that, he makes a vow. And that's what I really want to draw attention to in verse 18 or 20. So everyone read there with me. Chapter 28, verse 20. So Jacob made a vow, and I love Mariano's lesson. A vow is just a promise, right? And if you make a vow, what do? You keep it, all right? So Jacob made a vow saying, if God will be with me, he's repeating the promise, right? I'll be with you, right? Wherever you go and bring you back. If God will be with me and will keep me on this journey, protect me, and take me and give me food, that's provide for me, and garments to wear, and return to my father's house, that's the last part, bring me back, then what's the promise? It's an if-then statement. If, then what?
Then you'll be my God.
Jehovah, Yahweh will be my God. Now, in verse 22, this stone which I set up as a pillar will be God's house, and of all that you gave me, I will surely give a tenth to you. Now, there's two type of conditional statements that I want you to be aware of. The first one is when the first condition is doubtful. If you're so strong, lift this car. So do you believe the person can lift the car? No, you're challenging him, right? Did Satan do that to Jesus? Yes. Yeah. But then there's another if-then conditional statement. It's if means since. Do we ever use that? Can you give me an example?
Well, I think of a case in the Bible where God was asked to have the dew be at this one spot when he rose in the morning and not anywhere else, and then again on the cloak or the sheepskin.
Yeah.
But there was a if.
Well, that was more the first one, because he was not sure God was going to go with him. Right. So he wanted proof. Right. But the word since, we do that. If you're really, how could I do this? If you're really, who's the most rich guy? If you're Elon Musk's son, show me his phone number on your phone.
Oh, okay. I see you.
Yeah, because I want to see it, because I want to call him. You say, since you are, I want to see this, right? And did we do that? I can't give you a good physical example. Like, well, since we're going to Wisconsin, and we could say if, right? If we're going to Wisconsin, then I don't have to preach next Sunday. Right? That's a if then, right? But is that true? Yeah. Since the first statement is reality, then the conclusion, is valid. Now that's what he's doing here. Because is he convinced that God is his God, or is he doubting it? He's convinced. Because it's been such a moving thing to dream and seeing angels going to God and God speaking, hear his voice and giving this fourfold blessing. He's saying, since you're my God, since you're going to do all these things, God, you're going to keep me and you're going to return me, then you're going to be my God forever. He's making a promise of what? Faithfulness. It's not a test. If you do all these things and I get back here, then you'll be my God. He's saying, I trust you that you're going to lead me the whole way, protect me, provide for me, and bring me back. You're my God. Does that make sense? And when you meet God or God meets you, that's the vow we all make of faithfulness. It's not like if you take care of me, because I'm doubtful. No, it's a conviction. You're going to be my God because I trust you. Now, will he keep his word to him? Absolutely, yes.
Reminds me of Ruth and Naomi in a sense. Your God will be my God.
Right.
And she had a faithfulness
Good.
in Ruth or in Naomi. But when I look at this, when the word then is very important here. Then he says, the Lord
Right.
will be my God. There is a degree of faithfulness, yes, but it's not been completed at this point.
Well, that's true. But it's like if Jesus rose from the dead, well, then I'm going to obey him. When I say that if, what do I mean?
Well, you know that he did.
since Jesus rose from the dead, he's my Lord. I'm not questioning it. I'm just saying, if that's true, and it is, this is what I'm going to do. And that's what he's doing here.
And what he's saying, by
Yeah.
experiencing these things, by you being with me, keeping me, giving me food, it's going to basically substantiate
Yeah, everything.
that I'm going to be faithful to you.
God's going to prove himself again along the way.
Yeah.
Right. Yes.
He's confirming
Yes.
what the Lord has said.
Right. And this is a witness stone to stand as a testimony. I made an oath. You're my God. That's what this oath is. This oath is, you're my God. And I'm not going to deny that because I've been a miserable, messed up person, but I'm going to be true to you. Okay, so then the rest of the story is really interesting. We have to go through it quickly. So if God will be with me, keep me, give me food and clothes, return me home, then, of course, you're going to be my God. Who would not let him be your God? So he goes up and towards the east, and he finds Rachel. It's 450 miles. Rachel, remember the beautiful lady, and he makes a deal with her father, whose name was what? Laban. Work how many years? 7 years. And then when the wedding comes, he has her all veiled, and he goes into her, and it's not the beautiful younger sister, Rachel. Who is it? The older, can I use the word ugly? Ugly sister, Leah. And Jacob's all upset because he's been what? Deceived. Oh man, isn't this a lesson? You reap what you sow.
But the deceiver became deceived.
The deceiver now is being deceived. And so Laban says, wait, we have a custom. We marry the older first, then the second, right? And he plays with him and he says, so if you work another 7 years, I'll give you both. And right now. So he does that, and now he works 14 years for Laban. Now, is God providing and taking care of him?
He's going to become wealthy.
Now, so here's an interesting lesson. Even though things, I don't want to say get worse, but they're bad along the way. I mean, you work 7 years basically as a slave to Laban, and then you get lied to. And it's like, okay, Jacob, now you know what it feels like. Because he disguised his bride just like his mother disguised him when he went into his father. Exactly the same. And it's like God says, I'm going to mold you. I'm going to let you suffer because that doesn't mean I'm still not with you, but you need some training to transform yourself from this man who you were into the man I want you to be. That's right. And it's exactly the same scenario. The deception that he brought upon his father is now brought upon him. And it doesn't stop there because, he's deceived. He works 7 more years, and then his herds multiply, and he wants to leave. And, of course, that causes another controversy. Are you going to steal all my... And so they make this deal between the spotted sheep and the black and white ones. And he plants these rods of almond rods. And what does God cause his flocks to do?
Jacob's multiplied
hugely. And because God is providing. And then, of course, he still doesn't want him to go, so he leaves to go home. We're in chapter 31. See how far we went? In verse 3. In chapter 30 is where he prospers. And this Laban's sons are worried that he's so rich, he's going to just take over. And so Jacob heard the words of Laban's son saying, Jacob's taken away all that our father and was from belonged to our father. He's made all this wealth. Jacob saw the attitude of Laban. Behold, it's not friendly toward him as formerly. So the Lord said to Jacob, Jehovah did, what? Get out of here and what? Go home, return to the land of your fathers and to your relatives, and I will... Now, who's waiting for him back in Canaan? Esau, who's looking to kill him.
No, he's not.
Well, Jacob doesn't know that. Jacob doesn't know that.
Jacob doesn't know it.
But he says, you go back and I'll be with you. So what does Jacob do? He gets up and goes back. Is he keeping his covenant? It's not a if, I doubt you. He says, since you're my God, I will do what you say, even though it makes no sense to me. Now, what's interesting here is
Great test.
I'm sorry?
It was a great test
Yeah, it is.
of his faith.
He was very afraid.
Yes. Oh, I know what I was going to say.
Right, 70 does that.
Yeah, right. Thank you. Well, you all said something to maybe lose my thought. But here, it's happening it's happening the second time. First time he had to run because of his lying deceit. Now he's having to run because what? God's blessed him.
Yeah.
And so they're going to take him, so he has to run for his life again. It's interesting. Jesus came to this earth, and his own people didn't receive him, but all he did was bless people. And then all they did was seek to kill him. But God was with him, wasn't it? And in many ways, Jacob is going to be the deliverer, that pre-picture of who Jesus really is. And that's what we're going to see here. So he called Rachel and Leah and his flock to the field. Said, I see your father's attitude, verse 5, is not friendly. In verse 7, your father has cheated me and changed my wages 10 times. Did he reap what he sowed? Oh, yeah. However, God didn't allow him to hurt me. So God said, I'll be with you and protect you. Has God kept his word? Yeah. So if he spoke, yeah, and he explained this. Then verse 11, then the angel of God said to me in the dream, Jacob, and I said, here I am. He said, lift up your eyes, see all the male goats. And this is how his herds increased. And verse 13, I am the God of Bethel. What does that word mean? House of God. That's where he made the stone, way back there, where you anointed a pillar. Remember that vow you made? Do we always need to remember our covenant? Yeah. I don't care, good times or bad times. And it's the bad time. But God said, I'm with you. And remember your covenant. I'm your God, and I'll take care of you. You just be what? Faithful, right? He said, where you made that covenant, now arise and leave this land and return to the land of your birth. And so, verse 20, what does Jacob do?
No, he makes two different groups.
Yeah. Well, it does, but he says he lied to Laban or deceived him by not telling him that he was fleeing. Oh, that's an interesting word, but I don't know what to make of that. So, yeah, he knows his father-in-law. So they head back. So the Lord said, go back. Laban pursues, but God intervenes and protects him. And when they get there together, he sets up a witness stone at Mizpah, and that's where they agree not to fight anymore. And so he returns back to his wife, and it says, and Jacob went his way, and the angels of God met him. And now this is where we come to chapter 32, and this is before he's going to meet Esau, right? And the angels of God met him, and Jacob, when he saw them, said, this is God's camp. And he called the name what? Mahanaim. And what does your footnote say? The place of two companies or camps, right? So he sent message before him to brother Esau, and he commanded them, you should say to my lord Esau, thus says your servant, I have sojourned with Laban and stayed until now. I've got oxen and donkeys and flocks and male and female servants. I've sent them to tell my lord that I may find favor in your sight. So he's going to give all these gifts to him. Yeah, basically he's trying to appease him, which is good. And Jacob in verse 9 said, O God, my father Abraham, and God of my father Isaac, O Lord, and who said to me, return to your country and to your relatives, and I will prosper you. Verse 10, I am unworthy. Is that a big change in Jacob's life? Because probably he was cocky and rebellious and thought only of himself, but now he realizes, I am unworthy. I'm unworthy of all your loving kindness and all your faithfulness which you have shown your servant. For my staff, I only crossed this Jordan, but now I've come two companies, because he divided them, and two wives, and he's rich. He says, deliver me, I pray, from the hand of my brother, from the hand of Esau, for I fear him, that he will come and attack me and my mothers with their children. For you said, he's quoting God now, I will surely prosper you and make your descendants as sand of the sea, which is too great to be numbered. So it happened. So is it okay to fear things but still trust in God?
Yes.
Wow, Alex, thank you. He's afraid of his brother, isn't he? But he's praying to God, take him to the right place. Rather than just getting all worked up and anxious, he said, God, you said you'd protect me, so I'm talking to you.
So I guess that time feels so pain.
Yeah, that's right. So we'll go all the way down, verse 22. He took the same night his 2 wives, his 2 maids, 11 children, crossed the ford of Jabbok. He took them and sent them across the stream, and he sent across whatever led, and he stayed behind. Verse 24, and Jacob was left alone, and a man wrestled with him until daybreak. And this is a very curious event. When he saw they had not prevailed against him, he touched the sock of his thigh, so the sock of Jacob's thigh was dislocated when he wrestled with him. In other words, threw the hip out or something. And then he said, let me go, for the dawn is breaking. He said, I will not let you go until you what? What is Jacob seeking still? A blessing. So he's wrestling with God because this angel's from God. And brother, we can't stop wrestling with God in our faith until we receive our blessing. And when's that going to be? Ultimately, when we go to heaven. That's our final blessing. And it's hard. Sometimes we just get tired and there's all these things we fear and ahead of us. But just keep wrestling with God. And I say that in a good sense, right? Taking your fears to him and wrestling and don't let go of him until he promises you relief. And that's what he does. So he says, what is your name? Because he said, I'm not going to let you go until you bless me. So the angel goes, what's your name? He said, it's Jacob. That means deceiver, right? From now on, your name will no longer be deceiver, but Israel. Why? Because you have striven with God and with men and prevailed. That didn't mean he beat God, but he secured God's favor and he hung on to his vow and was faithful. And so he said, tell me your name, Jacob said. But he said, why is you ask my name? He blessed him there. So Jacob named the name Peniel, right? See that? Which means the face of God. And he crossed over Peniel and was limping on his thigh. And he permanently had this limp. So we look at this. Here's Jacob's prayer. He says, I'm unworthy. Deliver me. And that's when he wrestles with God. Here's the ford where he forded. And actually the Jabbok River right there. And he's left alone. And that's where he wrestles with God until daybreak. And he couldn't prevail. So he wouldn't let go till he's blessed. And he named it Peniel. Because I've seen God's face to face. Yet my life has been preserved. Why is his name changed to Israel? It's interesting. Israel. Okay, Jeff. El means what?
God.
God. Okay.
And the first part is he who wrestles with God.
Okay. El, whenever you see that, most 90% of the time, a reference to God in the Old Testament, a name with El in it, the last consonant. All right. Huh? E-L. Huh? Right. The E-L is always, it's short for God or deity. Emmanuel, exactly. That means God. And this first part means to prevail or prevent. So he prevailed against God or fought with God, and that's why his name is changed to Israel. No longer the liar, but the one that secured God's blessing, finally. And that's why Israel was a blessed nation from then on, because they were called the Israelites. Not the Jews. We call them the Jews. They were called the children of Israel, the Israelites, because they secured God's blessing. So he came to Shechem, which is Padoram. He bought the piece of land. He pitched his tent. And then what did he do? Now we're in chapter 33, and this is where we kind of bring it all up. Because in chapter 33, Esau runs to meet him, after seeing all his family come before him and all the gifts, and he comes running to him, and maybe Jacob's or Israel is thinking, oh, I'm going to die now. Right. But he comes to him, verse 4, embraced him, fell on his neck, and kissed him, and they wept. Isn't that an emotional, wonderful scene? His family are reconciling and coming back together. And Esau says, come live with me. He says, no, I have too many. I'm going to go my own way. You go your way. That's probably smart, so it doesn't rekindle problems. But they went their own way.
So Israel feared coming back.
Oh, yeah, but God delivered him because he turned the heart of Esau, so they embraced and are weeping.
So we got mercy and grace.
Isn't that what Jesus does for us? Isn't that what he does for us? Brings us that mercy and grace we've all been wrestling for. And so he goes away, and all the way in verse 18, Jacob came safely to the city of Shechem in the land of Canaan, when he came from Padan Aram, and camped before the city. And he bought the place of land where he had pitched his tent from the hand of the sons of Hamor, Shechem's father, for 100 pieces of money. In verse 20, it's a simple little verse, and it's so easy to be lost in our readings, but I've highlighted it, because there he erects an altar. And what does that altar say? El, which means what? God. El-Elohe, that means God again. And Israel, that's his new name, the one who fought with God. So what does it mean when you put it all together? God, the God of Israel. And he has this altar and he puts it up, and that's what he names it, El-Elohe-Israel. You know what he's saying? I made an oath to you here, because you made that fourfold promise. You'd be with me, you'd provide for me, you'd protect me, and you'd bring me back, and you did it. And I made a promise, since you're that kind of God, you will be my God. And now he makes an altar to that fact. This altar basically says, anyone sees it, what is it? That means Jehovah is Israel's God. El-Elohe-Israel. And brethren, we got to get to the point that we go through the lives and struggles and wrestling with God, and we say the same thing. El-Elo-Jack. Elohe-Jack. In other words, God is the God of Jack Hafer. And put in your own name. Does that make sense? That you've walked with God and wrestled with God long enough that you can confidently say, he is my God and I am his servant. I'm his son. Isn't that a beautiful thing?
That you're gonna erect, what's this?
A stone
Stone in your heart instead of the stone.
in your heart. And that's why we look in Revelation, the blessings of the churches that overcome, they're going to be pillars, it says. And they're giving them a stone with a name written on it. And so there's all these parallels, and it alludes to this whole picture right here. But life's a struggle, isn't it? Yeah. Just stay faithful, because God's always faithful to you. And just make a witness stone in your heart, like you're saying, that God is my God and I'll never forsake him.
So here Jacob stole the birthright.
And he ended up with it.
Then he ended up with it because God gave it.
That's right. God did. Yes, Heather.
In verse 4 again that you've already read.
Yes.
Esau ran to meet him, embraced him, fell on his neck, and kissed him, and they wept.
Yes.
It makes me wonder, and it obviously isn't recorded, what story Esau had and God
Oh, yeah.
had a plan for Esau, because if God has a plan for each individual, we don't know what Esau's story was.
Yeah.
If God was not with him.
Well, we kind of do. He became the father of the Edomites, and they were a problem in Israel's side forever.
So you're saying God just gives up?
No, not gave up, but I think Esau gave up on God and didn't wrestle with him.
But he
'Cause
does reconcile.
Well,
though.
with his brother, but Esau is known as a profane, immoral man in the New Testament. It says that of him. So profane, he so little valued his place to be the patriarch. He was willing to sell it for a cup of soup. That's how profane he was. I mean, he just didn't care, you know. And obviously, when they married the Canaanite women, it was all about pleasure. And so we do know a lot about him. He became a father of a heathen tribe of people, the Edomites, right?
They were a thorn in Israel's
Oh, yeah.
side all their days.
Yeah, yeah,
But
yes,
Jack, within this story, his wife, the beautiful one,
yes,
hid her father's
yeah,
idols.
yeah. That's another part of the story we skipped over. And she was barren. And the ugly older, I don't know if she's ugly. Well, it alludes to it. Weak eyes, weak to your eyes too. But And she's the one that has all the children initially, doesn't she? God blesses them. So here's this man, Jacob, man full of deceit and deception. And though he suffered, he persevered, and he was blessed in the end. And again, he found a wife, he found a family, and he found his God. And again, perhaps God found him. All because of his loving kindness. And of course, Jacob makes this vow, you're going to be my God no matter what happens. And so he gets this new identity. And we have all new identity. It's not your family given name, but it's like he said, Israel, or we're the one who God is our God. The word Israel is used over 2,500 times in the Bible. And that's how significant this person is in all the Bible. And it's not by chance. 79 times alone in the New Testament. And it's interesting. It's a story of Jesus, too. Because he left heaven and came there seeking a bride. Didn't he? Yeah. We talked about that this morning. He came to seek a bride. And did he suffer while he was here? Did he have to wrestle with God? In the garden, remember, 3 times, no, let this pass. But
The difference, Jack, is Jesus is not a deceiver.
no, he never was. But his closest brethren deceived him and betrayed him.
Yeah, but it wasn't him.
No, I understand. You're right. That's right. So let's make a vow like that to Jesus. We'll never desert you. We'll never fail you. You'll be my Lord till the end. All right, because we're unworthy, aren't we? All of us. Yes, Heather, then David.
The angel of the Lord that wrestled with Jacob,
Yes,
you at all think that could be Jesus?
could be. We just don't know. Sometimes when it talks about angels, but then it says angels of Jehovah, the angel of Jehovah, not angels, a specific one. So there's often this thinking that could be the pre-incarnate Jesus. When I say pre-incarnate, when he became man, he left deity in heaven and became one of us, right? And that's his incarnation. Pre is while he's still around, isn't he? He's just not a man yet. He's not the Son of God until he was born. And so he might have appeared as the commander in Joshua, God's commander, and maybe the angel of the Lord. It's hard to say definitively, but possibly.
I think the relationship here is amazing with Jacob and God and how that worked out. But then I look at Moses and the relationship that he had with God.
Yeah.
That he talked to God face to face. That
Same thing.
He reasoned with God, and God heard the reasoning of his creation.
Right.
And heeded that